good evening, and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour at the beginning of a local shelter-in-place order to help us to remain connected in one of the oldest ways known to our species, telling stories to each other. I hope that everyone in the US enjoyed your holiday weekend and that you did not have as many fireworks and fire engines as we had in my neighborhood, where we could literally smell the sulfur indoors. I am much happier to be meeting all of you at this nice, safe distance to gather around a virtual campfire to listen to your stories. So welcome back to those of you who are returning, and welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. This week's format is the same. We have two writers, about 30 minutes each, no Q&A, and a short PSA for a nonprofit or two. You can keep up to date about upcoming authors at storyhour2020.com and see programs you may have missed at the Story Hour page on Facebook. If you are fortunate enough to help anyone else during this bizarre and bewildering time, please consider a donation to one of our featured nonprofits. The first one is one of our favorites, Southern Poverty Law Center. The SPLC is dedicated to fighting hate and bigotry and to seeking justice for the most vulnerable members of our society. Using litigation, education, and other forms of advocacy, the SPLC works toward the day when the ideals of equal justice and equal opportunity will be a reality. You can find SPLC online at www.splcenter.org. It's also a good thing to look locally. One that came to our attention is Edmonton's Food Bank in Edmonton, Alberta. By giving to Edmonton's Food Bank, you are not only feeding people, you are giving hope and creating a kinder community. And this is true of food banks everywhere. So please do think of Edmonton, but also think of your local food bank. If you're here on Zoom, please mute your mic now. Feel free to leave your camera on because it can be really nice for our readers to look and see the people who are listening to the stories. And chime in on the text chat on Zoom if you like. If you're joining us on Facebook, welcome. We are not monitoring Facebook and will not be able to respond to your questions right away. So our first writer today is Premee Mohamed. Premee Mohamed is an Indo-Caribbean scientist and SFF writer based in Edmonton, Alberta. She is an associate editor at Escape Pod and was recently a Capital City Press featured writer for 2019-2020. Her debut novel, Beneath the Rising, is out now from Solaris Books, and her short fiction has appeared in a variety of venues, including Analog, Pseudopod, Apparition Lit, and Augur Magazine. She can also be found on Twitter and Instagram at Premeesaurus. That's Premeesaurus. Premee, welcome.
Laura, thank you so much for inviting me.
It is our pleasure. Please tell me what you have brought for us tonight.
So what I've brought tonight is something of an adventure story, and it's an adventure gone wrong. It first appeared in Automata Review a number of years ago and was picked up by Escape Pod as a reprint recently. So probably my ardent fans, if I have any, will have heard this read by someone else. But I thought it would be a fun one to read aloud because it's very voicey and it's first person, and I hope people enjoy it. It is called More Tomorrow. Is my volume okay? Are we good? Okay. More Tomorrow. Day 5. Anyway, it turns out trilobites aren't very good eating, even if you haven't eaten in days. I had particularly high hopes for the fat humped acidids, thinking they would taste like shrimp, but everything I've caught so far is strictly armor and attitude, plus they bite. Discovered this morning that if you just hoik a trilobite in the fire and assume terminal temperature, it crawls out and shakes itself off like a little tank. Complete decapitation required. Paper idea. Mechanisms of apparent trilobite invincibility. They're not strictly aquatic either. They come right up on land and look at you while you're eating their friends. Jesus. Also, cut my fingers to shit butchering the first one. To be honest, it was hard to tell who was butchering who. Whom? Easier going now since I chipped an axe out of a piece of blue flint that I found a ways up the beach. Poor replacement for the one we lost, but it cracks the armor at least, and then you can roast them without explosions and shrapnel. Still have to cut them up to get the few calories worth of meat inside, though, which doesn't, incidentally, taste like shrimp. They're survival food. A couple more days, and I'm going after some of those big, meaty arthrodires, though. The ones I can see gliding through the crystal clear water with little signs on their back saying, "Eat me." I'm already tired of trilobite, though not yet tired of surviving. Note, can I eat any of these algal mats? Different from seaweed at sushi restaurant. How exactly? Tomorrow, I'll probably hike up the hill and check out those whisk ferns that the mid-sized Captiviridae keep nibbling but not eating. Clearly, it's non-toxic. Maybe it's medicinal. I could smush it into a poultice and put it on the cuts from those stupid trilobites. Maybe it won't kill me. Maybe it'll kill me sooner. Better than a Dinocephalian getting me, I guess. More tomorrow. Day 6. My fingers won't stop bleeding, but the cuts on my cheeks have closed up and they don't feel tender or hot. Hallelujah! I keep checking them in a shiny fragment from the temp box. No teenage snotball ever scrutinized her skin so assiduously. Sometimes I glance at what remains of the box and the old temptation steals over me. I can fix it. Of course I can fix it. But come on. I'm a paleontologist. I deal with very old things, not very new things. Running gag. That must be why you get along so well with Hap. I mean, if you handed a computer engineer a busted calculator, $10 says he would simply hand it back to you. They don't make electronics to be fixed. They make them to work for a while, and then you buy a new one later with university money. Anyway, literally, the dame who invented this thing couldn't fix it now. Maybe, just maybe, if I swam down and found a spare, because of course we took a spare, it's policy, like the working alone policy, DeWitt, don't do it, ever, I could see how badly the seawater got in and maybe try to piece it back together, splice it, I mean, a piece from here, a piece from there. But today is not that day. Have you seen those fucking fish? The jaws look like they could go right through my ankle. Hap should be back soon, anyway, from his collecting expedition. Let the record show that I did try to talk him out of it, though. We agreed someone should stay for the SNR team. So to reiterate, he said, 3 days out, 3 days in, 6 days ago, no sense wasting the time we've got here, and took about 3/4 of the equipment we had left, including our only knife and most of our Right in the Rain paper. And it rains almost every day. Our shelter wasn't great to begin with, cheap bastard university, and now it's almost better to sleep out in the open. Anyway, I'm going to write till the pen runs out of ink, or till I run out of paper, or till I get eaten. We'll see what lasts longest. Forgot to add, another option is that I die of some disease from eating undersea bugs. Paper idea. Toxic loading in late Devonian, early Permian survival situations. Forgot also to add, to be honest, they would not taste so terrible if I had some salt. So tomorrow I might set up an evaporation still. Actually, nacho cheese seasoning would be better. Part of me thinks I should be opening up their little gizzards to see what they've been eating down there, but part of me thinks, why bother? Because they taste like rancid amphipods and fermented worm. Nacho cheese seasoning, the orange powder, that would help. Yeah. Trilo Doritos. Your Trilos? Cool Ranch Triloritos. If I manage to bring some back alive, they're going to be the next big thing. Day 8. Hap isn't back, but I'm not what you'd call panicking yet, not completely. When you estimate 3 days based on any measure of the world we used to live in, not accounting for the rain, the unfamiliar terrain, stopping to draw and write and collect specimens, etc., your estimate is bound to be off because this isn't that world. It'll be okay though. There is potable water, and adequate, if unpleasant food. The other thing that would be really good, shichimi togarashi, big dusky orange sprinkle of it. Yeah. Now that I'm using the flint axe, my fingers healed up, so it's easier to write. About things that aren't seasoning, I mean, which is clearly of prime importance right now. I lost the first bunch of pages, days, so I'll quickly recap here, even though neither of us are likely to forget it. To wit, set up in the Chambers Lab, room 12C, for planned 5-day field visit. Did correctly activate shielding, would swear in a court of law that the light was green. Activated primary temporochronocular adjuster, which had been calibrated to our weights and equipment. Monitor clearly indicated within acceptable range. Did not. We'll probably also have to swear to this in a court of law. Notice that the shielding light had turned red until this point in time. Anyway, the upshot is arrived in unknown but maybe correct location and unknown but maybe 300-ish million years prior to activation of temp box as planned. However, damage to shielding resulted in Ducharme vortex type 3 of physical and chronological material at proposed landing site, mostly sand, water, fish, one very large ammonite, abundant temperae and chronobosons. At this time, myself and Dr. Hapler and all equipment and spare box were immersed in ocean, and we swam back to beach, having only recovered a small number of items. Primary box destroyed by ammonite. Not sure I need to re-record that I pissed myself during the vortex. Oh, wait, I just did. I can scratch that out later. Oh, look at me using a pen like an undergrad. I miss my tablets. Also, socks, forks, golf carts, sunscreen, neon signs that blink and say all day breakfast, and the year 2029 in general. Also guns, but projectile weapons of any kind would do. I regularly wash in the pond behind the bluff as well as in the ocean to reduce my scent, but there are still a disconcerting number of pelycosaurs who stop, ostentatiously sniff the air, and stare at me before lumbering on. I have no way of killing them before they kill me, and I'm so paranoid I've scattered the area around camp with shells, which sound like broken porcelain when stepped on, but I don't need defense, I need offense. I think I shall invent the spear while Hap is gone. An argument could be made for my inventing perhaps instead the tent, but there's nothing to repurpose right now except the scraps of carbon fiber panels from our busted shelter. At least it's warm out, small blessings, etc. It is not precisely that I want to be brave right now, but I want to do brave things. I want to be remembered as doing brave things, that's all. Or at the very least, if I fuck up history, I want it to be in a way where I miraculously return and somebody buys me a shake and some eggs Benedict. Day 9. Science, my eternal mistress, has not let me down. Grovel and wonder, all ye things, without opposable thumbs, see what superior evolution can do. Managed to rip and braid kelp to form a rope, used a squid for bait. The line took 5 or 6 hours. I tried twisting it, but it wouldn't hold. This is what I get for dropping out of Eagle Scouts to join the quiz team. Whereas actually catching a fish took less than a minute. It bit almost through the line, of course, but because I had reflexively jerked backwards, it flew right out of the water before the line snapped. Maybe 12 pounds, pale green and black, some kind of placoderm. I have included a drawing of it in the back of the book, dated day 9, so I can ID when I get back, including jaw morphology detail. Was so damn proud, reached for my pocket to text Hap, and froze, hand in the damp khaki. Anyway, now that I have rope, maybe I can rig some kind of cooking sling. Lack of wood on this beach is maddening. All I can burn are these gangling ferns and pseudo-ferns, and hardly enough at that. I'm responsible for deforesting half an acre, just getting fuel for my pathetic fire. There are, worryingly, a lot of bones, though, that have been making good substitutes for support struts and skewers, etc., but it's not the same. It takes forever to saw through one, and breaking them sends pieces everywhere like a Christmas cracker. Later, Hungry Man placoderm dinner is very, very good. Flesh is greasy and juicy, like mackerel. Why? Those haven't evolved yet. Paper idea. Emergence of fish flavors during speciation. If I catch a dozen more, I could get a good sample size. Except it is dawning on me that maybe I will never write another paper again, will I? Where is the SNR team anyway? They know where we plan to go, and there is still, last I checked, one more temp box in the world. Though the shielding was likely destroyed in 12C, and there aren't many other access points. Plus, who knows what else happened in the lab just as we were sent, who knows what changed. Maybe they don't have our coordinates anymore. Maybe another 8-9 days till they show. Let us hope it takes me more than that to get eaten by a pelycosaur. Like those big dimetrodons I can see prowling in packs of 4 and 5, their feet splapping on the sand, tails clinking through my perimeter of shells. Listen though, that spare, I can still see it. I'm telling you that despite the tide and the sand, I can still see it. I'm going to try to grab it as soon as Hap comes back. Not doing it alone. Day 11, camp is in pieces. Stupid, my fault, mea culpa. Left remains of dinner near remains of fire, and a good lot of monsters came in the middle of the night to scavenge. Sleeping bag soaked, mold, raining now, fire no help. Can't keep it going under my bone and kelp shelter. Reminder, if I get back, bone and kelp is the name of my new hipster pop-up store. Guess what I'll sell? Science. Anyway, thought the rain would drive them off, but can see their moving shapes through the water, circling, circles, steadily smaller, some very big, activating some ancient terror feedback routine in my lizard brain. How big did we think carnivorous synapsids got here based on the fossil record? Wish I could look it up, but I'm thinking of that 2023 paper by Al-Khadib et al. With the map. Have not gotten around to inventing Spear. Day 14. Please stop touching me when I sleep. Trilobugs. Day 16. Sunny and hot. Haven't slept for days. Collected a pile of stones to keep near camp while I dry everything on top of the shelter. Watching it steam is pretty gratifying, though it's funny that I should feel so much less protected with no clothes or boots on. Like a t-shirt and cargo pants is any protection against the monsters that still pace, licking their teeth, waddling urgently away from my stones. What do they eat when they're not trying to eat me? Each other? Fish? Their short, mean teeth look like they could bite through any of those armored buggers. Should have insisted on a Kevlar suit or chainmail, like we were saying. That nano-ceramic stuff from the Chambers lab would have been terrific if prohibitive, there goes our funding for the next 2 years. But we could have rented, not bought, just one, and taken turns. The whole point of them being lightweight is that you can use them either diving or on land, plus Hap is around my size. Refusing to say was, not yet. Not just yet. Update, 2 Gorgonopsids fighting or maybe humping. Not 20 yards from camp, gathered my stuff and bolted for the fern forest where at least I can hear things blundering behind me. Thing is, I can't bail completely. I need to get to the spare box and see if I can get anything from it. And to do that, I need a plan. And to do that, I need to be here on the beach and to calm down. Holy scrote, calm down, calm down, calm down. Back home. Shit. I just realized I should have brought some rocks with me. Shit. I remember walking around campus late at night and being like, no one's going to mug me. No one's going to jump me. And then I'd hear a noise, panic, stiffen, gather my keys in my fist. Tough city, they tell you, be ready to fight. But nothing ever happened. Here, I guarantee you, something is going to happen. Okay, listen. I'm going to get the box tomorrow. I'll go without sleep to make a plan. Yeah, it would be better if Hap was back, but if he doesn't come, I can't wait any longer. Already, I can only see the barest corner of the thing, despite the clear, warm water. Heh, just thinking I could never afford a tropical vacation back home. But look at me now, splashing and sunbathing and enjoying the local wildlife. Okay, plan. Day 17. Fuck you, Devonian. Day 18. To clarify, attacked by Dimetrodon. I'm not too bitten up much, but maybe blood poisoning later, I don't know. So covered in bruises and scrapes from falling while getting away. Fast for their size. Must remember that. Still no Hap, obviously. Their teeth are serrated, sharp, and rooted in very thick gums, much like a fine-toothed shark. So interesting. Wish had phone, so could have recorded afterwards. Not during. Everything hurts. I'm hungry. Can't even go get a trilobite for supper because took hours to get enough crappy plants to keep the fire stoked overnight. Did clock the fucker in the face with a rock though, and now it has just one eye. Ha! Fire burns high in the rich air. Good light. Later on, need to make a ton more rope. Found an anchor point, half buried in the sand. Unknown synapsid skull. Very solid and heavy. Can thread through orbitals or whatever. Then chum way down the beach, where there's that low point near the red coral. Current seems to be running that way. Plan to use a lot of sliced up squid and fish if I can catch some tonight. Needs to be fresh, appealing, not like me, who will hopefully not smell like anything. Therefore, minimal chemotaxis. Remember that dinoflagellate article where they were like, these guys swim like a drunken undergrad following the smell of a hot dog cart. I don't want to be that hot dog cart. Just get in, get out. Note, might need a harness or something for the box. Keep one hand free in case fish come back my way and are like, lunch? No, I am not lunch. Later, napped a few hours by the fire, woke up sore, but it's time to go. It's time to go. I have enough bait. Can I swim all the way down there? I don't know. One eye watching me from the bluff just far enough that I can tell it's the same one. Hap, if you get this, I hope you are okay. Please tell my family that I love them and that I fucking hate trilobites. Also, don't you dare use my funding if I don't make it. That money is mine. Go beg for your own. Later. Survived. Did not get box. More tomorrow. Day 19. Took a day off, but I assume I'm still getting paid. And when I came around again, refusing to be driven off by thrown rocks, it really is big. Like, my first car was smaller than this thing. After I beat it around the head for a while with one of the beach bones, I gave up and ran, and it ate all my leftovers and most of my sleeping bag. Thanks for destroying one of the few things left that actually impacts my survival, a-hole. And so much for my day off. Did manage to have a hot meal, though. More protein. Wonder if any of our freeze-dried food survived the storm. It's in those watertight pouches, and while I was down there, I did see a bunch of silvery-looking stuff, somewhat hassled by trilobites. Stop touching my stuff! Oh, yeah, the rescue attempt, sorry. Short version, I'm not a strong enough swimmer for the current, and the current is particularly significant right where we landed. I suspect that's why the box hasn't been completely covered yet, because it's just so aggressively full rinse cycle down there. Anyway, I got in, and even though the coast looked clear, I only managed a few rapid blinks before the current battered the breath out of me and I had to resurface. Plus my harness fell apart. More arguments for not dropping out of Eagle Scouts. Seems I can't make a knot to save my life. We never covered this in my PhD. I have to try again though. No faith remains, none, that there's going to be a rescue. My bite wounds are turning red and puffy. Not drippy yet, or black, but just not right. And Hap still isn't back. Something must have happened to him, and he's got the first aid kit with the axonomycin powder that could knock an infection down. There's that cockeyed monster following me, pacing day and night. Must be their usual strategy. Attack, wait till weak, then go in for the kill when it's easiest, like a Komodo dragon. Ugh, I can hear it out there even now, in the dark. Sometimes I lift a stone from my pile and visibly heft it, hoping the monster is watching, and then pitch over arm as hard as I can. I haven't connected once. Drives it off for a while, though. If only there were a tree I could climb. Day 21. Oh, come on. One Eye has been joined by a mate? Unfair. I couldn't even get a date back home, and this thing has a hulking, scarred paramour with claws like bananas. Christ, I would kill for a banana right now. Actually, I would kill for carbs in general. Toast. I would kill my grandmother for a piece of toast. Yeah, I can't wait any longer. I can't. I'm going to get that box, fix one of them, go back and get help. Now, hear this, universe. I did not drag myself through the essays, interviews, training, exams, simulations, and interrogations just to crap out of this expedition now. I did not come so far to not be brave. Where, I want to know, would science be if there were not us few lightly gnawed, sunburned explorers willing to spend university money on plunging into the unknown in search of knowledge? I have to get that box, and I am going to. I made even more rope. I made a belt for ballast. My harness is strong enough to hold several kilograms of stones. I've been practicing holding my breath and swimming in the tide. There's a granite-lined cave about a mile away that might be okay for shielding. I can, and I will. Hap, see previous note. Day... How to start? The personal health update. Light wounds, mostly healed. No visible signs of infection. A miracle. Left some gnarly scars, though, like the puckered kind you get from a steam burn. Coughing a lot. Supplies update. 13 packages of freeze-dried food. One 1.5-liter canteen of cleanish water, half full. 5 live trilobites in specimen sack. Weather update. Foggy. Let's just get it out of the way. Smoggy. In fact, almost sepia. Visibility close to 0. Occasional long streaks of light in the distance that could be missiles or worse. It's not too bad inside this bombed-out skyscraper, although going up 20 flights of stairs nearly made me choke up a lung in the chemical haze. Guess I need to do more cardio. This isn't even the highest one. I am surrounded by a forest of buildings, so high their tops disappear into the murk. Going out foraging later, or at least going to try to find somewhere to refill my canteen. I found an overturned tank earlier, but went back this afternoon and found a dead guy floating in it. His tear gas canisters emptying into the pool. I can get by for a while without food, but I'm paranoid about my water. A little paranoid also about date. Refurbished box seems to indicate today is the 14th, the day after we left. I am not prepared to say that whatever happened was our fault. Nota bene was probably Hap. Not sure this journal will stand up in a court of law, though. Am definitely out of funding either way. Should have stayed where I was, not at end, but at beginning of things. Should have just made the best of it at the start of the world. More tomorrow. The end.
That was both horrifying and hilarious, which is very true to my understanding of graduate school and academia in general.
Yeah, it's probably the most common thing you hear about doing a postdoc, I think, is this was horrifying. Everything.
Am I going to be eaten alive or lose funding?
Or both?
They're both so bad.
They're both so bad.
Totally took me back to my grad school and postdoc.
Well, that was wonderful. And we have more coming up because our second reader is Effie Seiberg. Effie is a fantasy and science fiction writer. Her stories can be found in the Women Destroy Science Fiction Special Edition of Lightspeed magazine, winner of the 2015 British Fantasy Award for Best Anthology, the Best of Galaxy's Edge 2015 to 2017, Analog, Fireside Fiction, and Podcastle, amongst others. Effie lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. She likes to make sculpted cakes, which are delicious. She didn't write that, but I'm telling you, they're delicious. And bad puns. You can find her on Twitter at Effie S. Effie, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, I have a short story that came out in December on Cast of Wonders. And while I'm sure Premee's story in no way has anything to do with her history as a scientist, none. My story in no way has anything to do with my decade and a half in Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
This is the tale of Descruptikn and the product launch requirements documentation. And it's a fairy tale. Once upon a time, there was an associate project manager named Jamie. She knew she was lucky to have this job. So many others in her graduating class were still juggling nanny gigs and catering gigs and tutoring gigs, and so many side hustles they could have been a dodecahedron. It was at a small company that ostensibly helped foreign students find scholarships for American colleges. But actually, if you looked closely, you could see that the company didn't do much and was a vanity project so that the founder could say he was innovating and disrupting and other such nonsense buzzwords. Considering how little the company actually accomplished, Jamie was astonished that she was the 100th person to join the team. Jamie wanted to like her job, but it was hard. Her boss had the sort of privileged white dude entitlement that comes of an upbringing full of nothing but other privileged white dudes. He was singularly unqualified for his job, but since he and the founder had been frat brothers in college, his position was unshakable. And her colleagues, mostly cut from the same cloth. One day, her boss came into her small gray cubicle. "Jamie, check it out," he said, putting an elbow on the cubicle's half wall and leaning. "The website launch you're working on? Gotta get it out in a month. You're good for that, right?" He brought out an apple and gave it a noisy crunch. A droplet of spit and apple juice splattered down onto a pile of papers on Jamie's desk. Why?" she asked. "I thought we had 3 more months for it. I mean, we haven't even gotten everyone to agree what needs to go in the website, and coding it up will take a few weeks on its own, and we haven't even started on design yet." "Yeah," he said through a noisy mouthful, "but now it's got to be next month. You can deliver, right? I'm counting on you. Or, if you can't, then we aren't really getting the project management we're supposed to be getting from you, so..." He gave a half smile and some finger guns and left. This was a disaster. There's no way she'd be able to pull this off in 1 month with everybody squabbling, especially without the clout she needed to get people to listen to her in the first place. And if she was fired, the job market was dire for recent grads, and she didn't even have the 5+ years experience every single entry-level job paradoxically required. With a sigh, she set up a meeting with all the stakeholders for the next day and started the product launch requirements documentation. Perhaps if she used a Gantt chart, broke everything that needed to happen into the minutest steps, and gave each of them a deadline, they'd make it on time. And maybe a genie would pop out of her laptop, pay off her student loans, and give her a pony. She searched for Gantt chart template, but couldn't find one she liked. Easy Gantt chart template and thorough Gantt chart template didn't give better results. But when she searched for Gantt chart template for participants who are egotistical morons, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "So you got a project management issue and some idiots," it said. It had to be from someone who overheard the conversation with her boss. Her Google searches weren't that insecure. But she'd made sure not to give out her cell number to anyone at the office. "Who is this? How'd you get my number?" she texted back. "Look down," came the reply. Uneasily, she looked under her desk. There, sitting on the power brick for her laptop, sat a small troll-like creature. It sort of looked like a ball of cottage cheese with skinny limbs and a pointy hat, and was uniformly greenish-brown, sort of like a bad choice of khaki, which made its bulbous nose look like a tiny pickle. The creature waved. Jamie looked around to see if anyone was watching, then crouched under her desk. "Who are you? How'd you even get in here?" It reached into its cottage cheesy flesh and pulled out an employee swipe card. "You folks really should tighten up your security. Anyway, never mind all that. You need to spin these meetings into gold, and I'm just the person to help you." "Why would you help me? What do you want in return?" Jamie had learned very quickly that nothing was free in corporate America. Cost your soul to enter, and then the rest of your life, all for a chance at semi-subsidized healthcare. "Tisk, tisk, so distrusting," it said, shoving the card back into its side. Its flesh absorbed it soundlessly. "But yes, I do want something in return. I'll make tomorrow's meeting work beautifully in exchange for your annual dental exam." "You, like how? Like you want to have it instead of me?" The creature nodded. Jamie shrugged. Why not? Her teeth were fine. She could hold out another year. "Good," crowed the creature. "I'll text you the contract." The next day, Jamie's meeting went smooth as butter. People came to agreements. Decisions were made. There was no bickering, only collaboration. Her insurance confirmed that her annual dental exam had happened and had been paid for. And for a full week, every single deadline was met. Until things started to slip again. Stakeholders bickered. Decisions were held up in endless loops of debate. A legal snarl showed up, and everything snarled and stalled. Jamie went to her boss's desk. "I don't think we're going to make the website deadline. We can't legally say that we're going to get people into American colleges, and the immigration lawyer we're working with just went on maternity leave with no one to cover her. So it's going to take a little while to find a new lawyer to review the material. Can you let the CEO know?" Her boss grudgingly looked up from his online poker game. "Jamie, you've been working here for what, a few weeks now? 8 months? Right. You're in the big leagues now. Nobody's going to hold your hand through your job or do your homework for you." No, of course not. I didn't mean..." "So this lawyer who went on maternity leave, she's been pregnant for a while, yeah? So it's your job to know these things and prepare, see the risks that are coming and fix them before there's a problem." "Sure, but she had an emergency issue." "Her emergency is not my problem, and you should know that." He turned back to his screen, which was now flashing a countdown for how long he had left before he automatically folded his poker hand. "Just find a way to get it done, Jamie. Freaking millennials." Jamie nodded and calmly walked to the ladies' room, where she shut herself into a stall and burst into tears. There was no way she could possibly control every little thing that could go wrong with this launch. Certainly no way she could have prevented the car from hitting the lawyer, who had to have an emergency early C-section to save the baby, and who was fortunately now recovering with her now healthy baby, but come on. It wasn't fair. But neither was the world, and she still had a chance to salvage things. Boss wanted her to do her homework? Fine. Homework she would do. Jamie dried her eyes, splashed cold water on her face until she looked refreshed, and calmly walked back to her desk. Some quick internet searches for immigration lawyers led to a series of calls and "we'll get back to yous." And once again, the creature showed up under her desk. "So, how's it going?" It asked with a smug smile. You know damn well how it's going, snapped Jamie. Can you fix it? Of course. All it will cost you is your annual medical exam. She'd actually been looking forward to her annual medical exam because she thought she had a good chance of getting a referral to a therapist for her raging anxiety and depression. Both had increased dramatically since she'd started this job. But she reasoned if she was out of a job, both conditions would get even worse, and perhaps she could hold out a little longer without getting treatment. Maybe. Surely there were some online listicles that could help keep both issues at bay a little longer. Fine, she said. Take the annual medical exam, but I want things to work for more than just 1 week this time. Of course, said the little creature, using the same tone that one would use to soothe a toddler crying about something silly. I'll text you the contract. Condescending little shit, muttered Jamie under her breath as it left. But yet again, her meetings were spun into gold. Despite the previous delays, everything got back on track. Her lawyer emailed from the hospital about the text changes they'd need. The design team and the web front-end team were working side by side. Even the back-end engineers were collaborating with the front end, and that never happened. Jamie's insurance sent her a note that said that since her annual exam was done and she was declared healthy, they would not be paying for anything else short of an ER visit. That was fine. She'd get through this launch, try the new mindfulness exercises BuzzFeed had recommended, and just hold out for another year, by which time she could get a new job and new benefits. Maybe. Everything was going swimmingly 2 weeks before the launch, and then 1 week before the launch, and then on the day before launch, it turned out that the site didn't work on iOS because a big feature on the front page was using a third-party API whose update in the last hour broke everything. An issue that was genuinely outside the team's control. Jamie had done her homework. Hell, she'd done many other people's homework too, much in the spirit of any group project. But this wasn't anything she could have foreseen. She poked her head into the boss's office. If you're not here to tell me that everything is perfect and on time for tomorrow so our founder can show off the site at the big networking event at his country club, I don't want to hear it. Honestly, how entitled can you be, Jamie? She nodded, and without another word, dragged her feet back to her desk and started to pack up her things. Why bother sticking around another day to see the axe drop? They could fire her whether she made the commute in tomorrow or not. At least she could get unemployment benefits if she's fired. But as she reached under her desk to unplug the power strip she'd brought in from home, the one that was there because there weren't enough outlets for her company-mandated electronics, but for which they refused to reimburse her, there again was the little creature. What the hell? She shouted, this time not caring if anyone heard her. I read the contract. It said the launch would happen on time. It said the launch can happen on time. It moved to block the plug of the power strip. I guaranteed your team would produce the needed requirements on time. I gave no guarantees about third-party tools, and I've delivered. Everything your team needed to decide on and do, they did. But we still can't launch if nothing works on iOS. If this is going to get demoed at some country club with potential investors, every single investor who wants to check out the site is going to pull it up on an iPhone. Not my problem, said the creature, unless you have something else to trade. Jamie slumped back in her seat, dejected. No, nothing else. I have no other annual exams and nothing else that'll be paid for unless I essentially get hit by a truck. Oh, but that's not true. The creature rubbed its hands together. You have signing power for the company, right? They gave you that so you could sign the API contract so things could keep moving while all of management was at Burning Man. So all you need to do is sign over your next big product launch. And then everything will launch tomorrow on time, functional as can be. But what does that even mean, signing over the next launch? Like you have the rights to the product offering? The creature giggled. You could say that, yes. Come on, what do you care? You need to meet this deadline. The website isn't a product anyway. And if nothing else, this will give you more of a buffer to find your next job. You'll get hired or fired in no relation to whether what you produce makes money or gets the company screwed over. And they sure won't hesitate to screw you over too. Jamie thought about it. She thought about her friend Shayna, who was babysitting third graders instead of working as a third grade teacher. She thought about her friend Joji, who was driving for Lyft and designing company logos for $5 a pop instead of having an actual full-time graphic design position. She thought of her friend Arden, who still lived with his parents along with 5 other grown siblings, all stuck in the same house. She thought of her friend Mara, who committed suicide last year after her depression was left untreated for too long. She needed this job. It would take only one unexpected bill, one car crash, one tiny hiccup to put her right where her friends were, even if it was just to tide her over until the next job. Unemployment benefits weren't great, and she didn't know when she'd get another chance as good as this one, for all that this chance was looking like a real shit Sunday. Damn it. Fine. Good, 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 cried the creature with glee. I'll text you the contract. But this time, we're putting in something bigger. I don't want just this website to go out on time. I want a career. That means you help me land the next job and the next job after that until I get a really successful product launch. Then you can have that one. The creature sniffed, annoyed, but then nodded. After this, Jamie's career flourished. She got the website out on time, worked that into a promotion and a raise, and worked that into a better position at another company. Soon she was a product manager, not a project manager, a job with a better path for growth and responsibility. And soon after that, she even had a team of her own. Things were good, and she'd almost forgotten about the strange little creature she'd made a deal with those years ago. But of course, as these stories always go, the bill always comes due, your word needs to be your bond, a deal's a deal, and all that other folksy whatnot. So the night before Jamie's first big launch as a director-level product manager, when she was working late in her office, mind you, not a depressing cubicle, and making sure that every last detail was indeed taken care of, her phone once again buzzed with a text. Here to collect, said the message, listed as coming from Weird Blob Guy. And sure enough, down by her foot sat the creature, a big grin going from side to side of its old head. So, it said, what are we launching? And don't give me the whole, oh no, this launch is my baby, I couldn't possibly crap. We both know what you signed. Said Jamie. I'm not sure that's true. She twirled her stylus and went back to her very large touchscreen monitor. 2 years of therapy had left her much better able to manage tense situations. Do you need me to spell it out for you? Because actually, I know a great deal more than you about what you signed, and I can use very small words to explain why the rights to this launch are all mine. And if you don't sign them over right now, you'll have a very unpleasant patent dispute starting tomorrow, which will tank the company's profile. I'll extend it out for years, extracting every dollar this company has on the series of lawsuits I'll throw at you. Your company will be ruined, and with it, your reputation as a product manager who can catch such things before a launch. Said Jamie again. What a nice theory. But if you'll excuse me, I'm busy. If this new launch hit 1 million downloads, she had a bonus waiting for her. It would be enough to invest in Arden and Joji's new business, which would get Arden out of his parents' house and Joji out of their Lyft gig. The marketing for this launch was due to hit in about an hour and the first press release in 2. "You stupid little girl playing at being in business," shouted the creature, stamping its foot. "Pay attention to me. I own you." Jamie sighed and turned her chair. "You're a patent troll, a real parasite on society. But the trouble is, while you're making your scammy little deals, you aren't even very good at them." "But we have a contract. You signed it," it shrieked. "We don't have a contract. First of all, the initial contract was invalid because I don't have the rights to this product myself, and thus I can't transfer them to you. I suppose it might be valid if I ever own a company and the rights to a future product, but that's unlikely because of point 2, which is that the initial contract was with a company called Rumple Inc. And just like with any good project management, I did my homework and actually looked into what my risks and liabilities were. Rumple Inc. is owned by a series of shell companies that ends with one called Descruptikn to go here, which I can only assume meant it was set up with a typo in the name. And that one is owned by you, a person banned from owning or controlling any patent enforcement company by a 2009 US Patent and Trademark Office ruling after your previous patent trolling companies were deemed too abusive, meaning that the contract is void and unenforceable. She turned her chair back to her screen. "So I don't owe you anything. And if you don't disappear, I'll call security on you. Not to mention, it seems as though you've been pulling this same trick with countless other people. I am sure the FBI's fraud division will be delighted to get a good long look at you and a description of everyone's case. I'll give them the photo of you I grabbed the very first time we met. So if you don't mind, I'm very busy." She turned a few more cells in her Gantt sheet green, clearing the elements for launch. "You can't do that," it shrieked. "I made you. You'd be nothing without me." "Sadly for you, that's just not true. I'm an excellent product manager. And you know why? Because I do my homework. There's nothing you've done or can do that can take that away." The little creature screamed and stamped its feet until it disappeared into a cloud of poorly researched vitriol and straw man arguments and was never heard from again. And the moral of the story, because fairy tales and fables always have morals, is to read your contracts before you sign them and to never, ever feed the trolls.
That was wonderful.
I don't know about y'all, but I came into this needing a laugh. So thank you both so much. This has really been wonderful. Gosh, this is probably the most amusing evening we've had with Story Hour. The chat has been really lively too on Zoom. Thank you all so much. Thank you, most of all, to Premee Mohamed and Effie Seiberg for sharing your stories tonight. I'd also like to thank my co-host, Daniel Marcus, and to let you all know that next week we have another great one to look forward to. We're going to have Lawrence Raphael Brothers and SB Divya. And thank you, all of you, for joining us tonight at Story Hour, Spinning the Fictive Dream. Good night.